Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 483 of the DrunkNerds podcast. And as always, I'm Tyler. And joining me, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
Well, bad times don't last forever, but bad guys do.
Goddamn right. Hey, yo.
Rest in peace, Scott Hall.
Yes. Yeah, one of the best. Rip it.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's sad that he passed on and stuff like that. I mean, that was a couple of days worth of thinking, in regards to the best times with Scott Hall and this and that, and his times in wrestling and WCW, WWF, and even stints and stuff with AEWA when he was tagging with Kurt Hennig at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he passed. He passed a couple of nights ago and stuff, and yeah, incredibly sad and stuff. But just focusing on the fun times with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But otherwise, it's like I'm doing all right. Just been a busy week, taking care of a couple different things at work, dealing with a dog that just seems not to want to calm down at all. With a little whimpering. Dog, I
Uh-oh.
will put you to sleep.
Yeah.
How you been doing, Tyler?
Doing all right, Bit of a crazy day the last couple days. I had I got off work yesterday. I went to go to my parents' house to get my dog because he goes over there when I'm at work. And I don't want to be stuck in my tiny ass apartment for, 10 to 14 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes over there, he's their dogs and he gets fed and gets to go outside. And, I, my parents live just right off a corner, of a street. And, I'm sitting there, I'm stopped waiting to make a left turn to get, to pull into the street. They're like a couple houses in, and I look in my rearview mirror because I can't turn yet, and I see a truck come at me really fast, Gables, and I'm like,
Yeah.
he's going really fast, and he's getting close, and then I kind of like look, I kind of like glance away, see if I can go. I glance back up, I'm like he's not stopping, so I gunned it as hard as I could. I just floored it with my car, and I hear screeching, and bam, hit the back of my car. Um,
Wow.
yeah. So luckily, it was raining out and stuff like that. Rush hour. Luckily, for me, I saw him coming and I just hit the gas. I wasn't like a dead stop. Pulled off to a side road right there. Got out. Not too much damage to my car. Some scrapes and some dents and stuff like that, but nothing too major.
Wow.
So very lucky. I'm okay. I was okay. It's a little sore because you get tense right before you get hit. And I think that was, and I was like shaking, afterwards. That was my first accident. Um, and he came out and he was younger guy, probably a little younger than me. Got out. He was like super apologetic, apologized over and over again. And I was like, hey, I'm okay. Are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm good. He's like, he was shaking worse than I was shaking. And I was talking to him. He kept apologizing to me like that. I'm like, hey, man, it's all right. Shit happens. I got, I've been driver. I drive all day. And he's like talking to me and stuff like that. I'm like, we're good. Doesn't seem like damage is too bad. Just let me get your information, stuff like that, your
Mm-hmm.
insurance information. And he
Yeah.
pulls up his phone, and he has the Geico app, and he's trying to pull it up. He can't get logged in, and I mean, like his whole hand, like he was like visibly shaking, like he couldn't even like tap the screen, like he was struggling. I'm just like, he was starting to talk to me for like a minute or two, and it's raining out and stuff. And he's like, "Hey man, like I'm really sorry. Can I like just give you my information? Like here's my phone number, here's my first name, and like that. Like, can I just text you the information later?" And I'm like, yeah, but can you text me right now? So I had him text me right now. At then there, so I had I knew he wasn't giving me a fake number, and when he wasn't looking, I wrote down his license plate number and what type of car he had. He was driving a pickup
Good.
truck, and just in case, make sure he was trying to fuck me. Um, and I'm like, all right, man, just send when you get home, just send me information, please. And didn't hear from him last night. Didn't hear from him for a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny. I guess my dad was home, and he heard the tire screech, and then he heard the bang, and he like got up and he looked at the window, and he could see me. He's like, "Was that fucking Tyler?" And he saw me pull over to the side of the road, and he saw me. And he's like, "Oh shit!" My mom was like just got home, right right after it happened. Like as soon as I pulled up, they come out and look at it. And I tell them what happened, stuff like that. And I didn't call the cops because I'm like he seemed like super nice, all that. A couple hours go by, I'm at home. I sent him a text. I'm like, hey man, just wondering if you got the information for me. Didn't hear anything all night. Morning comes along. I called my insurance agency. I let him know what happened. I gave him all the information I had on him. Had his name, had his phone number, had his license plate number. My mom, like I told my mom his name immediately within a couple seconds. Boom, looked him up on Facebook. It's like, is this him? I'm like, yep, that's him. So I knew like he didn't lie to me about the name. I know he wasn't lying about the phone number. And I texted him this morning. I'm like, hey dude, I called Geico. I gave him all information. I need your policy number so we can get the ball rolling on this. To get my car, because there's some damage to it, but it's like, I want to get it fixed, obviously. But didn't hear anything, so I called my parents. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't get them to respond back to me. I'm like, I hope, like, I'm like worried. Like, now I got really bad anxiety. I'm like, get that like lump in your throat. Like, fuck, man. Like, is this guy like not have insurance? Is he fucking me? Like, is he gonna ignore me? And I'm like talking to my mom. My mom's like, we'll just fucking harass him. Like his Facebook is public. We can go on there. We can like comment on stuff. My mom he like put all his information on fucking Facebook. Like his work is on there. My mom like, so really all the story's about is like, I'm okay. My car it's drivable. Just some, like I said, bumps and some dents that can be easily fixed. So, most importantly, he's okay. I'm okay. This is a story about how fucking crazy my mom is. All right, I just gotta talk about this. I'm scared. So I tell my mom, she's like, "Well, fucking like I'll go." Like they found like a post that they did like congratulating him on like an anniversary like recently on his workplace's Facebook page, and she's like, "I'll go on his. I'll comment. I'll harass him. I'll call his work. I'll comment on his on that post from his job about that's the guy that hit my son and won't return his calls." And I'm like, what's not like it's been a day. It's not even been 24 hours yet. Like, like let's at least give it the weekend before we like go to this exorbitant like manner.
Right.
Like I don't want to like, and a couple hours go by, and he texts me back with his policy number. I'm like, oh, huge relief. Thank you. I wish you would have done this, 15 hours ago. But thank you. I called Geico and stuff like that. So as soon as he sent me the text, I called mom and let her know. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. It's like, she's driving. I'm like, oh, where are you at? And she's like, oh, I'm outside his house.
What?
My mom, right?
What
so
the fuck?
Yeah, right. So my mom's like, I'm like, wait, what? She's like, oh yeah, I'm parked outside. I'm parked in the street outside his house. I'm like, what?
You fucking scared him into giving the damn policy number, dude.
I don't know. I don't like my mom said he wasn't home. She's like, if he was there, I was gonna go knock on his door. I'm like, why? Like, it's been like 12, 15 hours. The accident was like, I'm like, this, like, the accident happened like at 5:00. And he texted me like 10:30, 11. So would have been great if he would have texted me at like 7:00 that night, but whatever. He got me the information. I'm like, what are you doing there? And she's like, oh, I found his home on Facebook. I'm like, all right. I searched him up on Facebook and I figured out where he lived. I'm like,
Jesus Christ.
Okay, I'm like, can you go home now, please? Like, leave now, because like Casey like just saw some like, I'm like, and like now I'm gonna get in trouble somehow for this. So I'm just like, I'm like, Mom, I appreciate you. I appreciate the fact that you care, but this might be a little too far, Especially like I said, like let's at least wait a week, like till Monday before we start harassing this guy. But I meant like harassing him via Facebook or calling him. I didn't mean showing up to his house the next morning. So yeah, I just had to tell that. Like, I'm scared, Gables. You can't. My mom. If you. So I guess
man.
like don't fuck with me because my mom will destroy you. I guess is what I'm saying. It was. I'm like, more respect and terror of my mother. So I just had to tell that because another fun aside with my mom was like, I don't know, I was like 18, 19. I was working at this at this big business, and I don't want I don't want to say the name. It's a big ass company, and I was in this department that was like, it was a pretty small department. There's only like 4 of us in it, when most departments had like 15, 20, but we were like inventory control kind of shit. And we had this guy, like right when I started, the manager left. So we just didn't have a boss when I started. Like the week I started was the week he was leaving. So for like the first like couple months I worked there, we just didn't have anybody in charge. Like we didn't have a main manager, we didn't have a supervisor or a lead of any sort. So this guy, he'd been there for a few years, early 20s, just frat boy douchebag kind of guy. He would like, he was full time when I was a temp working there, and he would just sit on his computer all day, and because he wanted to buy like a motorcycle, and he would just sit on his computer all day and like go on Craigslist and or go on and just like look up motorcycles, look up stuff to buy, like watch videos on, like he would just research. I mean, I'm not just saying a couple hours a day. I'm talking 9 to 5 or whatever the hours were, the whole day. He wouldn't move from his desk, and we weren't sitting there, like we weren't computer jobs. We were like walking around the facility all day. And he just would he walked in, he'd always be late, and he'd come in and he would sit there and just look up shit about, like he'd be on Craigslist he'd been on Craigslist most of the day, on Craigslist looking to buy a motorcycle from somebody. So, kind of, I don't want to make this a long story. So, and every day I was like 18 or 19, I just graduated high school like a few months earlier. And I come home from, this is like my first like real professional job. And, I was like, come home every day and I just complain and like bitch about it to my parents about like, he didn't do anything. He just like, I'm the new guy, I'm a temp. And he just makes me do shit. And I'm like, I'm worried that he's like, I'm a temp. They can like let me go at any point in time. So I'm like, I'm worried that they're gonna, like he can, he's been there the longest in our department. He can fuck me over. And there was like, the other guy was like his right, like he just kind of whatever did his like thing. They would like do, like, I'm not making this up. They would do like, they were taking like acid at work. And they would just take like that. I'm like, they wouldn't do it. Like they would go to lunch for an hour when they had a 30-minute break, come back super high, like tripping and drunk, not making any of this shit up.
Wow.
And I would complain about it every day when I come home from work. And I think my mom just got sick of me complaining, and she put on Craigslist. I don't want to say his name. First name, put his first name and last name. Get off Craigslist and go to work. And just as a joke, she did it, and she put it in one of the sections he would go into. Anyways, another employee there found it and gave it to him and sent the link of that Craigslist posting to a manager. So then the manager set it up, and then so they had the IT guy go to his computer and look up and see what he would do all day. And found all of this. He was quickly walked out of the building and fired for that.
Wow.
And I call my mom, like, because she told me she did it. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. It's kind of funny. Like, so my mom was like, yeah, my mom kind of felt bad because she's like, I didn't want to get him fired. I just wanted him to see it and like know that like, hey, we're fucking like, hey, like get to work. So yeah. So anyways, my mom's fucking crazy. All right. Don't fuck with her. I'm scared. I'm more scared than I've ever been before. And she's beat my ass before, like when I was a child. She would like, get a spanking. But now I'm more terrified than ever. So don't double cross me or my mother, because she will destroy you. So anyways, I just had to tell that because I had to tell somebody because it's fucking wild. But anyways,
yeah, that's pretty wild, but still.
Yeah. So this is not the podcast where we talk about how crazy our parents are. This is the Drunk Ashers podcast where we talk about video games each and every week. We come at you with this. If you're enjoying this, or you enjoy us, or if this is the first time or last time, or if you've left already, please come back, because we're actually going to talk about the reasons why we're here. And that's talk about video games, Gables, while I drink some beer. And I don't want to toast beer to Scott Hall, but love you, Scott Hall. Rest in power, buddy. But this is a video game podcast where we talk about video games. And if you're liking all this, please like, follow, subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, click that like button over there by Gables Junk. It'll make him very happy. Leave us a comment, share people. If you're watching us on YouTube, please download our audio version. Go to iTunes, Apple, whatever it's called now, Spotify, all those things. Give us a 5-star review. Leave a comment, tell how much you like us, and download us, because every time we download us, we get a penny. And I'm not even kidding. We get 1 penny every time we download. So give us download them all. Just go in, download them all, because that's like $5 if you download every podcast that we posted. And maybe Gables and I could buy coffee at the end of the month.
There you go.
That'd be nice. So anyways, do all that. Tell your friends so then they can download us more, and we can get more. We can get more coffees. But anyways, this is DrunkNerds podcast, and we're gonna talk about some video games. So Gables, I want to jump into it right away. I made you watch this trailer because I told you I want to talk about it.
Yes.
Because I'm very excited about this game. Supermassive Games, the guys that made Until Dawn, they're doing the Dark Picture anthologies. You've heard me talk. If you've listened to this for a while, you've heard me talk a lot about Until Dawn. I think was my second favorite game of the year. It came out, I think 2015, second or third. There was a big hit. Like Jacob Knuckles, when he used to record with us, he loved it. Justin, when he played it, he loved it. When they used to record us back then, I don't know if you played it or not.
No.
Okay, it was super awesome, cheesy horror game where kind of like quick time event type stuff, decision making. But they've been doing after that they had a deal with Namco Bandco to make the Dark Pictures anthology games, and they've been kind of hit or miss, but they've been gradually getting better. They made 3. House of Ashes made my top 10 list last year, and I felt like it was the first time since Until Dawn where like you're seeing that magic that they had. But they've been like cheaper game, like $30 games, where Until Dawn was like a full-fledged game. These ones have been like $30. You could beat them in a night, 4 hours, give or take. But the quality just hasn't been there. The budget obviously isn't there, but they're still very good games. But I feel like House of Ashes, the game from last year, was like the first time that like this is like really, really good. Where the previous 2 were like, they're okay. But anyways, this is like their they call it their like spiritual successor to Until Dawn. This is like full bore into this. This is a partnership deal they have with 2K. It's called the Quarry. It's got a ton of actors in this one. So all of their games actually have like actors in it. So you'll see. I don't remember like a lot of the names off the top of my head, but like if you see the characters, like I've seen all these people and a lot of things. So some of the actors, they got fucking David Arquette in here from like the Scream franchise. Ariel Winter, she was in like Modern Family. Sorry. Ethan Suplee, he did like Wolf on Wall Street. Remember the Titans. He's actually I don't know if Gables ever watched Boy Meets World, but in the Boy Meets World universe, Vader was his dad.
Oh my god, dude!
So
that is some bitter.
He was a really, really big guy, and now he's lost a ton of weight, and I didn't even recognize the fact that was him. Yeah. So we have Lin Shui. She's like the older lady. She was like in Insidious. She's like in the Insidious franchises. She was in Grudge. She was the landlord from Kingpin. I don't know if you remember that one, when she told Woody Harrelson to work on his tongue exercises. It's great. One of my all-time favorite movies. Miles Robin, he was like in 2018's Halloween. Grace Zabriskie, she was in Armageddon. Poor girl. Let's see if there's any. There's a lot of people in here like from recognizable stuff. Like you have like one guy, Halston Sage is from like, she's in like the X-Men movies. Zach Tinker, he's from like one of the main stars from 13 Reasons Why.
Right.
They got the guy that Justice Smith. He's kind of like one of the bigger stars, like they're kind of promoting outside of David Arquette. Like he was the main kid in Detective Pikachu.
Okay.
He's been in a couple of stuff. And Sam Raimi, who did like the original Evil Deads and did like the original the Spider-Man Tobey Maguire trilogy. Very well known, does really great horror movies. His brother Ted Raimi is also in this movie. But they talk about like a lot of their what they're using as like what's the word I'm looking for? Inspiration is like the old school like Friday the 13th Evil Dead movies. Like that Sam Raimi charm. Like if Sam Raimi made a Friday the 13th movie, this is what this is. And it's coming June 10th, which is shocking. Like I heard about the game earlier. Like I was at work, so I don't really hear too much about what's going on in the world. And like I heard it got announced. I'm like, oh cool, that's awesome. It's probably like a 2023 game, or I thought it was like the next Dark Picture anthology thing. So I got home and I watched the trailer. June 10th. I'm like, holy fuck, that's like 3 months away. Fuck yeah, let's go. I'm pumped for this. And then we're getting 2 Supermassive games this year. But I don't know. I love this trailer that we had for it. Like it's a bunch of kids. They're in a camp, and like David Arquette is like freaking out, like don't leave the house, like they got stuck there for an additional night. Like they're just a bunch of teenagers, uh, basically running a summer camp. It looks like. So I don't know. I think this looks fantastic. Gables. I had you watch the trailer. I guess you said you haven't really played any of their games before, but what was your thoughts?
I thought that looked kind of like a sort of a classic horror theme type of setting, in that regards, going from some horror movies. Think about the campfire and everything else like that, it kind of has hints of like say Friday the 13th in that regards,
Yeah.
some similarities to it, maybe not entirely. From what I'm seeing, it seems like they got some pretty solid voice acting work in regards to not just like David Arquette. I mean, that's kind of funny for me to say that for David Arquette,
Yeah.
but for the other actors as well involved in the project and stuff. And it looks like it's going to be an interesting type of adventure game.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can't wait. They said this is like a full fledged game. This isn't like the. This game is $70 or $60 if you get them on last gen. So this is not.
Okay.
This is a full fledged. It's a longer game. It's gonna be like probably a 6 to 8 hour game, where the previous one, like that, like I said, the Dark Picture anthologies are typically around 4. Uh, so we're talking a lot longer. They put a lot more into this. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm incredibly pumped for this. I was talking about last week of the games that are dated. Forspoken was the most like anticipated. That got bumped down a spot. The Quarry is now my next one because I talk about all the time. Like I love Until Dawn. Like me, like a lot of people have not been huge fans of the house or the Dark Pictures anthology stuff. Like I said, it's getting better, but and we want like it's like if they were to get, I'd rather they got bought by PlayStation than kind of go on do their own thing and do partnership deals because I think I couldn't imagine what they would do if they were able to have that full budget and just do what they wanted to do. I'd rather have every 2-3 years get a big game from them than every year get these smaller games that are different. But yeah, like I said, I'm really pumped. I don't want. I just keep saying it over and over again, but yeah, this game looks fantastic, and I can't wait. I don't know how they do it, games. I don't know how they keep pumping these things out, but they're doing it. But moving on here, Gables. Moving on to the next thing here. So I don't know, Gables, if like there's something like how you want to cover this one or not. If you have something you want to say about it, Hogwarts Legacy had a state of play. This was announced a couple years ago, but it was leaked years and years ago. Like
Yes.
when they did like a focus group thing on it, like in 2017. So we've known about this for a long time, but it finally got revealed at one of the PlayStation events in 2020. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of issues going on with like J.K. Rowling. Um, I have my opinion on the whole thing. Um, So take it with what you will. If Gables, do you want to give your opinion on it, you're more than welcome to do so. Um, my personal opinion
Right, right.
is, like, and you can take it with a grain of salt, whatever. Like, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. For me personally, you know, if you want to know my background on things, I've been legally able to vote 4 times for presidential elections. I've done Democrat all 4 times. Never even was a second guess on who I was going to vote for. Always knew who I was going to vote for. I walked in a Black Lives Matter. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Protest. Sorry. A couple of years ago, summer 2020. So I'm all for trans rights, everything like that. But my personal opinion is, and I'm just a white guy on the internet, that if you want to buy this game, totally fine. If you are repulsed by J.K. Rowling's for the things her beliefs, the things she says, and the misinformation she throws out there, that's fine too. I think a big problem with everybody in the world today is that too many people try to tell other people how they should feel about things, and I'm not gonna be the guy to do that. And if you could take that for what you will, if you want to the podcast off for that reason, that's fine, I guess. But I'm not going to judge you for buying this game. I'm not going to judge you if you say, hey, I don't want to support her. That's fine too. So I just want to get that out there before we cover it because I feel like it's something everybody should touch. I know it's a big deal going on right now. Gables, if you have something you want to add on top of that, please go ahead.
All right. So from the initial points that I did watch the entirety of that state of play in terms of the Hogwarts Legacy because I kind of wanted to get a good grasp and feel of what this game and especially what the gameplay is all about, really. And from the impression I got, it's more of like an open world, almost esque type of
Hmm.
game. With it has, yes, it does have its thing with like the whole schooling and stuff like that for the Hogwarts and stuff like that. But there are multiple different areas. It looks like from the initial impression, it gives you sort of like an open world sort of thing. But I think it's kind of like one of those things where it could be like in sections. Kind of like how with the
Yeah,
Pokemon Legends
that's
Arceus,
exactly what I
how
was gonna
that
say.
one
Yeah, I was gonna say Gables. It looks like Bully.
fully.
Remember
And how
Bully?
so?
Well,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah, PS2 game.
it's like a semi-open world.
Mhm.
Like I said, there's like different sections. You go to class. You get better. You get better stats and better things by going to class. And they're just mini games in this class. Um, it just looks like um, we just made we took Bully and we put it in a Harry Potter world, and that's the entire vibe I got for this game.
All
Better
that's missing is
gameplay.
putting some
You're
cherry
not.
bombs in the toilet.
Yeah. You're not like beating the shit out of football players. Instead, you're doing magic tricks with a stick. Um, and you're not doing slingshots at people. You're like actually like setting people on fire. But yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know. I agree with you. I think the Pokemon Legends Arceus actually is a good like where it's open areas, not so much an open
Yes.
world. But go ahead.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Well, other than the initial impressions that I got from looking at the general gameplay, I mean, a bunch of the stuff I did see, the quality in regards to how the game looks, I mean, that's fine. The overall terms of like, say, some of the open world things is kind of interesting, and to an extent and stuff like that. I'm kind of interested in seeing how well that's going to held together because they're aiming for like a holiday 2022 release.
Correct.
I kind of wonder in regards to whether or not we're probably going to see like another major update, and that's this game like about months down the line before that point, which I would assume, yeah, especially if you're going to try to advertise it during like a holiday period and stuff. But initial things is I thought it looked okay from what I initially saw, but if they're definitely aiming for a late 2022 like release with this type of a game and stuff, it kind of feels like it's going to be buried by the other open world style games that we've had initially released this year. I mean, I'm not talking just about Elden Ring, I'm talking about Horizon Forbidden West, I'm talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus. I feel like that for the late holiday 2022 release, probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is I feel like this game is be completely ignored in regards to what has been available on the market right at this moment and what will be going through and available in regards to just open world style games themselves. I'm not taking into account like other genre types of games that we have yet to see. And I'm especially taking into account, God of War Ragnarok is going to be releasing sometime by the end of this year too.
Let's
And
hope.
the thing about it is like I feel like this game from what I've seen from its state of play, it looks good, but there's nothing that really I saw personally that has me more etched to wanting to say, "Oh, this is going to be a great game. This is a day one buy."
Hmm.
It's like, but that's sort of ties into me as a person where it's like I'm not the biggest fan of Harry Potter in general. I've read a couple of the books. I've gave myself like a little bit of like a leeway, say, "Hey, I'm going to give the books a shot." I read through like a couple of them, and I do have the books. I can read them if I want to, but the source material and sort of like the longevity of what it's like, I'm kind of like moderate with like with the Harry Potter stuff in general. I mean,
Yeah.
give or take what the hell J.K. Rowling has said or done or anything in that regards. It's like I feel like the game in of itself just seems like it's like a good but not a great game for the initial impression I saw with the state of play. And overall, I think this is going to be good for the ones that are hardcore Potter fans that want to invest inside of a somewhat open world style of game and just enjoy themselves. But I'll tell you what, the most surprising thing that's come out of this is there's a Switch port. That actually makes me feel like,
And
how's this going to work?
it's not a cloud one. It's like it's getting a physical release. So
I think I think personally, many AAA, like not just AAA, but just many third-party developers are going to avoid the cloud-based thing because of the whole Kingdom Hearts shit.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, the Kingdom Heart thing was just like a lazy port by Square Enix. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
agreed.
yeah, I come away from this and like I agree. I think this could be a very good game. I don't think it's I don't. Well, I was watching it. I'm like, I think it looks like it could be a lot of fun. Like, and it's like this is the closest I get to Bully, maybe I'm more interested. So I guess I'm more of a fan of you, but I'm not gonna say I'm like a big fan. Like I remember like I watched the movies when they I remember like Justin loaned me all of the DVDs that were out. I think the first three or four movies were out by that
Hmm.
point, and I watched them all in a row in a weekend. And then I went to
Oh
that like
wow.
that midnight showing with them. I think there was 8 movies, so like the fourth or fifth one. But then like I really enjoyed it, but I thought like the last
Let's
couple
see.
I just
Sorcerer's Stone, Goblet of Fire. Let's
well they
see.
because there's
Prisoner
seven
of Azkaban.
because they broke the
Uh,
last book the last book up into 2 movies.
oh, that's right. Deathly Hollows. I think
Yeah,
that's
that
what it
was like a
was.
big thing back then when they would like Twilight. The last book got 2 movies, and Hunger Games same thing. Um,
Yeah.
just keep churning out money. Harry Potter or Hobbit got broken up. Like it's a 200-page book that got broken up into 3 movies. Um, but anyways, yeah, like I said, like I kind of like petered off towards the end with those. And I just didn't think the last couple movies were very good. But like that's kind of like the extent of my fandom. So it's easy for me to like say things like I said at the beginning. But yeah, I thought it looked pretty good. I'm surprised. Like I think it's like a licensed game. I don't think this will be like I think Spider-Man 2018 and like Miles Morales are maybe like the gold standards. Like I think off the top of my head as far as like licensed properties go for getting a big huge game. Um, and I don't think it'll be that, but I feel like maybe, I wouldn't be shocked if it's like a tier below that or maybe a tier or two below that, which could still be very good games. And I was stunned by how good this game actually looked. Like it could be actually
Yeah.
pretty fun.
Yeah.
Like I'm curious, like you know, like like what is the overall plot of this game? What's the overall point? Like how much, like you said, like is this open world? Is this open area? How it's like, and like I said, towards if we're looking at the end of this year, like I think it will. I don't know if that so much will get buried because I feel like having that Harry Potter IP will give it a boost for people. Um, but yeah, like you're going out to the to that time of year, like there's probably going to be one or two, at least one probably big Ubisoft game, Call of
Yeah.
Duty. We just talked about this a couple weeks ago with like Nintendo games, like how big this year is going to be. It's going to be a ton of Nintendo games coming out this fall. Like
Yes.
Pokemon, Bayonetta 3, Mario plus Rabbids, possibly, maybe Breath of the Wild 2. We talked about just last week. Forspoken got delayed to October. Gotham Knights got delayed to October 25th. We have two big
Yes.
open world games coming out within 2 weeks of each other. So that time frame is already packed, and now you're going to be packed in there with, um, Gotham Knights is coming from, like we know there's good quality. That's another license, like the Arkham games are maybe this should be in that tier with Spider-Man as far as licensed property games go. Um, so we already know that we can get really good quality Batman games.
Hmm.
So you have to speak like Forspoken's maybe it's Forspoken's a new IP, but it's a PlayStation exclusive, so they're gonna push the hell out of it. And also it's Square Enix, so no, we don't really know much about Avalanche Games on this one. You look at like what they made in the past. It's the Disney Infinity stuff mostly.
Yes.
So like they're known for they've worked on licensed games, but it's usually like the bad licensed games that we think of. So like
Ugh.
we don't know how like they don't have the pedigree as a lot of these other franchises or these studios do that are coming out. So yeah, I think it'll come out. It's gonna do very well just because it has that Harry Potter. Like the Avengers came out and that game wasn't very good, but it was one of the 10 best selling games of the year that year. So just having the IP will help. I mean, obviously the Avengers at that point was one of the biggest IPs going at that point, and maybe to this day still is. Where Harry Potter hasn't like we get the Fantastic Beasts stuff, but it's not like if this came out 10 years ago, this would be fucking huge. But anyways, I'm kind of rambling here. I'm sorry. But I don't know. I think it looked really good. I thought it looks pretty surprising. I was not when we first heard about this game. I was not expecting. 3, 4, 5 years ago when we heard about it initially, I was not. This was not what I was anticipating. Not what I was
No.
expecting. I think it looks. It's better than what I think I said. I think everybody came away from it looking at it better than we initially thought.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, like I said, we'll have to wait and see when we see more of it. That's one I'm gonna be very curious when the reviews come out, what people say about it, because that's one of those ones where I think like comes out and people are glowing about it. I'll probably give it a shot. Depending on what it really also obviously it depends on what's coming out. Like if it comes out and there's 4 other games coming out that month, it's like we we don't get paid to do this. We get literally the pennies we get from you downloading this podcast. So we don't really make any money off this podcast. We've lost, we are thousands of dollars in debt for doing this podcast. We have to buy these games with the money that we make from our day jobs. So and also we don't have time to play games. So we have time, but we don't have a lot of time to play games. But moving on, Gables, to our next topic here. I don't know much to say about this one. This could be like a very quick one. So Jeff Grubb's been reporting this for a while, and no one's really picked up on it. And then so EA just came out this week and said that there will be no EA Play this year. So typically we have one every year, usually around E3 time. We had one last year during E3. We had one, I think like August of 2020.
Last year.
Yeah, last year during
August
E3.
2020, and we did have one last year.
Yeah, we had E3 last year. Then we had one in like August where they announced Skate in 2020. They announced the new Skate 4, whatever the fuck it's gonna called. I don't really feel like this is a big loss because these things are just never good. Like they try, they'll the only time they're like any good is when they like announce games, but they announce. But I bitch about them all the time because they announce these games, but they announce them like when like they just announced they're in development. And we've talked about, I've talked about over and over again. Like these are just advertisements to, hey, come work for our studio, and I get it, but it's like how many times do we see Mass Effect Andromeda? How many times do we see Star Wars Battlefront? How many times have we seen Dragon Quest or Dragon Age 4? We've seen that game for like 4 or 5 years ago, and that game is maybe gonna come out next fall at the earliest, probably 2024. So I don't know. I'm not too bummed about because like they're better than they used to be. Because before it was all sports. We get some shitty Unravel game, and then like they would announce a game that's 8 years away, and that was like the big thing. And like they've tried to do it better by like not focusing so much on the sports, focusing on other stuff. But like I said, like a lot of time the other stuff is like stuff we've already seen several times before. So I don't think it's a huge loss. We do have the rumors of there's going to be the reveal of Fallen Order 2. It's supposed to be announced in May during like they have like a Star Wars event in May, and so it sounds like it's gonna be revealed there officially, and possibly coming out later this year. Could be interesting because there's also like they're aiming for this year, but it could come out next year. But we already know Dead Space is coming out early next year, so that could be kind of interesting how that's gonna work out. But I don't know, Gables. Like I'm a big fan of Madden, but I don't need to see it at my E3 or anything. But what did you think, Gables?
This is a no real loss. I'll be perfectly honest with you. The past couple of times we've seen an EA Play and corresponding E3s, they have been subpar at best. And mostly because of terrible game reveals and also in terms of some of the most funniest cringe moments I can remember in terms of like gaming presentations.
Yeah.
Even like with E3 was long past. But I'll tell you what, the last major E3 that we had and stuff where they showcased Command and Conquer and how lukewarm that game was. Yeah. You know what? From a PR perspective, this is the best that EA could have possibly done by canceling an EA Play.
Yeah. It's almost. I think it's just better that like, just like announce stuff when you have news. Just don't do like, or if you have like a really awesome, like I'm all for like an EA Play being around. Like I'm like they do a lot of big games. Like I get like why you want to do them, but they just haven't figured out how to do it yet. And I don't really feel like they're that
corporate.
Hard.
That's the thing, though, and
yeah, but
a lot of
like,
that corporate stuff just oozes over into their conferences, and it's just so fucking terrible.
Yeah, and the president of the company just always looks like he looks like an actual robot. Andrew, I don't remember his last name. I think I could be fucking up his whole first name. I used to memorize that. This is what I was talking about a few weeks ago. I'm losing it. I can't remember anything anymore. But moving on. So next up here, Gran Turismo 7 Gables. So it's kind of like interesting stuff going on with this game, like pre-release. So like the reviews came out pretty good,
positive,
very positive. I drafted it in my Fantasy Cricket League. Suck it, Gables. And doing pretty well for me. It seems like a lot of people are liking it. So they did the Activision thing where Activision did this, I believe, with the Crash Bandicoot racing game, where they had microtransactions but they didn't activate the microtransactions until after the reviews came out.
Wow.
Yes. And so people were I mean, the microtransactions were known they're going to be in there, but they didn't know to the extent of how bad these were going to be.
Right.
So I was reading some articles because like I'm not like I enjoyed Forza Horizon 5. I like playing Mario Kart. I'll talk about Mario Kart more later. I like fun racing games, but I've never been a Gran Turismo guy. I don't like the simulation ones. Anyways, so like GT Sports, which was the last Gran Turismo game, like they had microtransactions. So if you wanted to buy cars or stuff like that, or buy more credits, you could. And most of the cars range from anywhere from $1 to $5, which not bad. Like we live in a world where microtransactions. Like here's my thing with microtransactions. I get it, they suck, but video games, like the cost of making video games, has skyrocketed 10, 20 times the amount they were 10, 15 years ago. And games have only gone up $10 in the last 15 years. There's got to be a point where, either we start paying $90 to $100 for a game, or we keep it about the price we're at, and we got to deal with some microtransactions here and there. And I understand there's a balancing act. We bitch about them when they're bad. We bitch. We throw them under the bus. And I try to be fair. I will rip the shit out of EA. I will rip the shit out of 2K. I'll rip the shit out of anybody that does bad microtransactions. I love PlayStation. I'm a big PlayStation guy. I love all the consoles, but I've leaned heavily PlayStation. The last 6 years or so now, where I was a big Nintendo and Xbox guy before that. I rotate around. But the last generation, I've been a PlayStation guy. I feel like it's only fair that now it's time, Gables. Let's rip the shit out of fucking PlayStation.
Right.
I'm all for. Let's fuck it. It's been a long time coming. Let's do it. The cost of cars in this game go from anywhere from $5, which was the maximum in GT Sports, to $40, Gables.
For a car?
For a car. For the most expensive car in the game, it was. I don't even know. I'm not a car guy. I don't fucking know what it means. The most expensive cars in the game are $40. The cheapest cars are $5. And on top of that, Gables, they did an update recently, where like you can buy credits to buy these cars or buy upgrades or whatever for your cars. Or you can play the game and earn the credits just like you could in any other game. They did an update recently, Gables, where they lowered the amount of credits you earn in game while playing the game to make it harder for you to buy these things by playing the game. Piss a lot of people off.
Wow.
They did an update recently.
So.
Yeah, so then they had to do a new update. You can play this game single player. You can play this game online, but you have to be online to play the game. That's another issue. So there was a new update that had to come out. Instead of just putting an update where you can download it, they realized that it could cause people to lose their saves, lose their progress, which if you put a lot of money into this game, might piss a lot of people off.
Yeah.
So, or it would just that pissed me off in general if I didn't put in a dime in this game. But it really pissed me off if I put some money into this game on top of the $70. So they shut the game. They took the game down. This was just be for a few hours. Ended up being over 30 hours. The game was down for. Finally came back up Friday afternoon. Took it down I think Thursday morning. Didn't come back up till Friday afternoon. So yeah, a lot of people are pissed about this game. I don't know. I don't know where we can. This is bad. This is real dumb. This is real bad. Gills?
Yes, I understand. Let's address a couple of different things right with this game. And let's go with the most obvious one, the microtransactions. The microtransactions, I can understand if you have certain cosmetic stuff, but when you have adequate amount of money you have to spend on specific credits in order to advance yourself to get the cars that you want, or could potentially go through and make the game easier for you in that regards. And for some of the cars being upwards up to about $40 for some of the later end game cars and stuff, that is fucking ridiculous. I mean, granted, it's a choice, but at the same time, it is a horrible choice because quintessentially, it's like what we were stating before with this game in and of itself. It's a $70 game.
Mm-hmm.
You spend a $70 game, you could play it as it is in that regards, but at the same point, this is taking away the progress and the feeling of accomplishment from taking away just increments of amounts that you could be earning playing this game the regular way and forcing players that do not have a lot of time, do not have a lot of patience into investing inside of these currencies in order to get these higher echelon cars to bleed more money out of the consumer. And this and in this perspective, this is horrible. Not only by what Polyphony Digital has put out,
Yeah, I went that
but
whole
and
thing
all
without trying to say it because I knew I'd fuck it up. I appreciate you going for it though.
yeah, Polyphony.
I can't say the word.
Yes, not only by that company, but also in terms of like with Sony in general, this is a horrible. I mean, we've seen horrible microtransactions in games before. I mean, we've seen multiple things in regards to EA, in terms of Activision, Blizzard, in terms of Ubisoft. With Sony issuing this in regards to Gran Turismo 7, I mean, this is just horrible all the way around, in my
Mm-hmm.
honest opinion. But another issue with this, and it's probably, I would argue, sometimes even the most damning issue that this game has, is the online DRM. An online DRM, I mean, DRM in general, gamers hate. And because of the fact that it takes away a lot of the control that you as a gamer have in regards to playing your content that you've bought. Now, in terms of online games, PC gamers are no stranger to this. There's a reason why PC gamers avoid a lot of games that have DRM stuff, is because you cannot play the games offline. You have to always connect online. But if ever the game is like unavailable, like certain portions of an like multiplayer game or whatever the hell game is unavailable and stuff, like say licensing issues takes the game off the storefront, you're not left with being able to play this fucking game that you just bought.
No.
And so for Gran Turismo 7, it was down for 30 hours. You could not play the single player portions of it. You know what you could play though? You could play the demo of Gran Turismo 7 over
There was
that
like a there was like a
30-hour maintenance.
there was like an arcade mode you can play, but you couldn't go in the garage. You couldn't like customize it. You couldn't change any. You couldn't do anything else. There was like a small arcade mode that you were able to play. That was it.
So more than 90% of this game is connected online. That's the biggest issue. This is mostly a offline single player experience.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose to go and do on like multiplayer stuff, that's you do whatever you want to do. But in regards to a good chunk of players who bought this game that want to just enjoy going through the career modes, unlocking the different cars the normal way and stuff, they're screwed both ways. They can't earn enough credits in order to unlock the cars they want, and two, they can't even get into the game or connect onto the game to like go forth and enjoy themselves, maybe if on having one day or two off of work a week or whatsoever. But then with the online like the online DRM stuff and potentially licensing issues aside, I mean, this game potentially down the road, if those licensing deals go off and stuff, that is going to potentially lead for the gamers not being able to play this game in like possibly 5, maybe 7 years from now. I mean, the reason why I bring that up is because look at the example that Microsoft has done with its Forza games in the past, where they've taken off like Forza Horizon like 2, 3, and like some of their motorsports games due to car licensing issues. And like I've stated before, a lot of the issues with this DRM stuff that gamers have is because the game makers have a lot of control in terms of try to prevent all sorts of, they're saying it's to prevent a lot of like the online cheating and this and that in that regards, but more or less it's kind of aiming itself now to being, oh hey, we have control over how like when you can enjoy our content, and if we go through we can take it off, I mean, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna make you pay all over again just to go and get another game in that sort of type of experience. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I've personally have felt it was being interpreted as going through a bunch of this news for Gran Turismo 7. A lot of what this game issues has been not only in terms of like morality standards in regards to the gaming, like in game players and like the developers and whatever the hell, but also in terms of like it being a step down and kind of not just kind of though, but being like, I'm trying to think of the word of it, like it's nearly like false advertising in some retrospects. And it's more insidious is because that Polyphony Digital hid a lot of these things until after the game reviews were set out. If these microtransactions and this issue started at launch, there would have been no way this game would have gotten the high grades that it did at its current state.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, it's fucked for the most part, you know? I mean, yeah, this is probably going to be some issues and stuff we're going to probably not hear too much about, like, come, like, a week or two down the line, unless they extremely shit the bed with this game. But at the same point, now you have millions of you have quite a few gamers now. I wouldn't say maybe a couple million or so. Maybe there's going to be a select few gamers out there that are going to look at that and say, I don't want to invest in Gran Turismo 7 now. I mean, I don't care if it's getting like 80s or 90s or 9 out
Yeah.
of 10s or whatsoever and stuff. The fact is, you can't play the game when you want to, and the game developer wants to make sure that it controls the experience of what you can enjoy and how less content you can enjoy unless you put more money into it to eventually evaporate into nothing. That's that's just the overall concept of it. It's just pointless some of it, and it's also just just misinformation for a lot of this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. Like it's fucked up. It's kind of sneaky. It's snaky. Like what you're doing when we're comparing you to like um Activision on I should be careful when I say talking about comparing things to Activision nowadays. Actually, you can because they have a bunch of sexual misconduct lawsuits going against them. So yeah, you can look at them. God damn, it's getting worse.
Yeah, I know, right?
But if you like look at them from like you're doing like we're comparing you to Activision on like sneaky like corporate shit you do as far as like I said like with them you know putting the the microtransaction store up right after the reviews come out, so people can't go in like people have already seen the reviews stuff like that, and the initial first view is out there. People aren't gonna hear about that shit later. And like I said, microtransactions are a part of video gaming now, and I understand that it's like they're not gonna go away.
Right.
But there's a balance. There's like, it's like some like I look at like talk about politics nowadays. Nobody wants to meet in the middle anymore. It's gotta be 100% this way, 100% that way. And I feel like microtransactions is one of those things where gamers want to keep we want to be able to keep buying games that we love and but also corporations and businesses stuff like that, they want to make more money. These things cost way more than they ever had cost before, and they're only going up getting more expensive. We gotta meet in the middle somewhere. Microtransactions is that middle, and I understand
Yes.
that. But there's a balancing act to it, and like we said, like we thought, like we raved about years ago with Battlefront 2. I used to love NBA 2K, but I used to love doing the career mode thing, and it's so riddled with microtransactions. I quit playing them. And stuff like that. Like obviously we're not Gran Turismo guys or anything, but yeah, it's fucked up. It's shitty, and like the fact that you're charging me more than half the price of the initial cost to buy the game to buy a singular car is pretty shitty. Like I understand, put it like like Rocket League. I've bought in several cars with real money in that game, but I love that game. I put hundreds of hours into it, and with those games, the price of those things cost $5, like less
Right.
than it would cost me to go to the McDonald's. Like that, like that's an affordable like $5. I'm $40 is like fuck man, that's like a good chunk of my grocery bill right there, or like
Yeah,
that's
really.
like that can help me pay fucking part of my cell phone. But like that's one of those like when microtransactions get to the point where like you gotta start thinking about like can I actually do I have the money for that type of thing when it's like that quick fuck yeah I'll buy it. That's all that's the point of those things. Like it's the point of things like that's why candy bars are like right there when you're checking out. Oh, it's only $1. Fuck it, throw it in there. That's really get you, and that's fine. I understand it. It's part of business, part of life, whatever. But yeah, when you start charging me that much money for that thing, and then all the shit on top of it, it's just garbage. You guys, everybody, we should know better by now. We've gone through this. I don't know why this is still a thing. Why people still like, oh, it's been a couple of years since someone's done something this stupid. We'll do it. It's that fucking Arrested Development meme, where it's Tobias Fuke talking to his wife. He's like, this doesn't work for anybody. but maybe it'll work for us. This is that. Just stop it.
All I'm, all I'm, dude, all I'm thinking about is just the money in the banana stand.
There's always money in the banana stand. Yeah, there is. Don't burn down the banana stand. There's literally $150,000 lined inside the walls. But anyways, I love that show. I can talk about it all day. But moving on, Gables. I don't have much else to talk about. I think, yeah, we'll just, I don't know, we don't need to talk about, I have like other news, like small news stories, but we can move on from that, Gables. Let's move on to what we've been playing. I'm gonna go real fast, Gables, because
Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't had a lot of time to play a lot. It's been busy all week, and then today's been fucking nuts, dealing with a lot of shit, like I talked about at the beginning of the podcast. So I've only played a little bit. I played Tunic, that just came out on Game Pass.
Okay.
I didn't realize, I knew it was coming to, I knew it was an Xbox exclusive. I didn't realize it was coming to Game Pass though, because but it ended up coming out Game Pass day one. Tunic is the cute fox game that looks like old school Zelda, but it's got some like Dark Souls to it, where
Yes.
it could be people were talking about it's rather difficult. I was listening to some reviews about it because I wanted to hear people like how difficult it was. People were saying, like, people that are like hundreds of hours into Elden Ring and that are huge Dark Souls fans are talking about how this game is incredibly hard. So I'm like, oh well, fuck. But not like the world part itself isn't too bad. It's the boss fights get incredibly hard. Like kind of like as I was playing, I was thinking I did fight one boss. And I was able to beat him. But the thing I thought about a lot was that Kena Bridge of Spirits that came out last year. Well, that game was beautiful and it's fun as hell to play. Just going through like the world part it's challenging, but not like hard at all. Like I would say it's closer to easy than it is like hard. But like then you get to like the mini bosses and the boss fights, and it just ratchets it up like 50 fucking levels. And it's all like, how did this get so hard? Like it's not that fun. Like you get gradually better. No, it just goes from like, oh, I'm having a good time. I'm fine. And then fuck you. Like I'm gonna destroy you kind of shit. Like it's just that garbage. It's just not good. Like progression type stuff where, the point of like, obviously you fight this shit to get slightly better and grow better as you go. And this game kind of has the same problem where like, as I'm like going in the world, it wasn't super hard. Obviously, like if you fight a lot of guys over time, because in the beginning you can't heal or anything, at first, without finding like torches, which can be spread out pretty far. So like over time you can eventually like that. It's more difficult, like fighting guys it's kind of like going out in the wild, like going like in with your Pokemon with no potions. It's like it's not hard, but you're taking a little bit of damage over time, and eventually all your Pokemon are gonna faint if you don't heal. And that's kind of this game is. Like you can fight 50 guys, and they're all pretty easily individually. But taking a hit, you can only take a handful of hits and then you die. And that was gonna be an issue. But then I got to that boss fight, and he just fucked me up. I ended up beating him. I'm like, it wasn't like 100 attempts, but it was probably like 15, 20 tries before I finally beat him. But I got to the point, Gables, where so if you die, you have to go back and collect your soul, like your souls, which is like you get coins when you kill people, when you kill enemies. And then if you die again before you retrieve it, you lose them all. So I put about an hour into this. I died. I went back. I got right up to where my like souls were. I died. And I uninstalled the game. I was very mad. It did not go well, Gables. This is why I can't. I'm happy this game came to Game Pass, Gables, because I was breaking on like maybe I should buy Elden Ring. And this game reminded me why I will not like Elden Ring, and I will not like Souls games, because this game is very good. I will admit this game is very good. I love the art style. It gives me like Link's Awakening, the remake that we had a couple years ago. Gives me those kind of vibes. The game is very pretty. I like the music. I think the combat is pretty good. People were comparing it to like Hyper Light Drifter, or Death's Door from last year. It is not that though. Those games, like it's a much slower game than those. And I don't like the fact that like it has like that old like Link's Awakening on Game Boy thing where you have to like go into the menus to like attach items to certain buttons, which is very annoying.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Because we have a lot more buttons now, Gables. I don't know if people know that. There's a lot more buttons on an Xbox controller than there was on a Game Boy controller, or a Game Boy That is. But we're still doing that in this game. So that was kind of annoying. It doesn't pause when you have to switch items, which I found out the hard way.
Oh,
So that was fucking annoying when I died because I went to go switch something and I didn't realize it didn't pause. They do have some like accessibility stuff. I use quotations when I say that. Their accessibilities are like, so you have a stamina bar, which
okay.
you use when if you get the dodge, if you dodge roll or you swing your sword, lowers, you gotta let it refill. Um, you could turn that off if you want to. So if you want to just like play the game like you would like a Death Sword app or the Drifter, where you can just roll as many times as you want, but just much slower and not as good. You could do that in this game, which is that's kind of cool. I did turn that off after a little bit. I'm like, that's kind of annoying. I don't want to deal with that. But then the other option is there's two options. There's that one you can turn the same on and off, and the other option was you can turn off damage.
Turn off damage.
Yes, that's the two options.
Okay.
So you go from normal in this game is normal to just turn off damage. You can just walk through the game, which sucks. I think. I talk about this all the time, Gables. I don't want to hear about get good. I don't want to hear about easy mode. It'll break the game. Fuck you guys. We don't need to have easy, normal, hard. It's such an old thing. Celeste exists. Celeste perfected what I think gaming could be in a world. We talk about like all the accessibility options that we see from a lot of like Ubisoft games, Microsoft games, and PlayStation games the last few years. They could do for people that just actually need help. But then we see accessibility with like difficulty with sliders. Like we played Dodgeball Academia, where you can raise lower damage, whatever. You can so many options you could do to like change the difficulty if you needed to. And like I said, Celeste perfected how you can change difficulty for people. And I don't want to hear it anymore. So I thought that was pretty shitty because like I really want to play this game. I think this game is very good. I just don't have the time or patience for the whole like you die, you lose all your soul shit if you don't get back there. So that was a game breaker for me. It's like I don't really want to do all that. And then the boss fights are I don't mind difficulty in boss fights. Like I love Death's Door, I love Hyperlight Drifter, but I loved it. Like if you died, you boom right back in that boss fight. Just keep going with the flow. You die in this game, it takes you back to your last torch you're at. The closest torch is like a minute 45 seconds away from that boss fight, but you have to go through all the enemies that you killed previously to get back to that fight, or you have to like fucking dodge all of them to get to where you have to get, which is kind of annoying. I like the Death's Door and Hyperlight Drifter mode where like I died, I continue that flow, and, like you're not breaking that flow you're in of like
right.
And that was very annoying. But I think the game, like I said, I think the game is very good. This is not a Tyler game. That's what I'm saying. And I feel like it's cool to have accessibility option you can click on in the option menu, but that's not accessibility. I feel like that's pretty lame accessibility. And then the other thing I've been playing is I played the Mario Kart 8 DLC that came out on Friday. Picked up the DLC pack. I didn't buy the expansion pack because I'm still boycotting that. I paid the $25 to get not the expansion pack, but the DLC booster pack. I think is what they're calling it. I played I've only done the 50cc of both. I did the 100cc of the first cup because they came out with two cups. And I think three of them are like Mario Kart Tour, which is the mobile version. There's a couple there's a 3DS one, a 64 one, a DS one. I actually had my all-time favorite racetrack from Mario Kart, and it's Shroom Ridge from the DS one, which the DS Mario Kart is one of my all-time favorite games. It is the game I put the most hours into easily in my entire life. More than any individual Madden by far. I played that game constantly for years. The shit I would do in that game to give myself a challenge is disgusting. But yeah, I love that game, and that was one of my favorite tracks in that game. And I was incredibly excited when I saw that when I went to go play the 50cc. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm definitely playing this one first. So I had a blast with that one. I think they're very good. It's cool seeing like I didn't really play Mario Kart Tour. I checked it. I think I played the tutorial.
Right.
A lot of the maps are actually based off of like the Paris like their actual individual like cities and stuff like that. There's another one in there that's like Ninja something, Ninja Hideaway or something like that. That's pretty
Hmm.
good. I like the maps. They're not like I don't know. They're not like they're the the Mario Kart 2 ones are kind of like they definitely would be like the bottom of the barrel of like Mario Kart tracks, but they're still pretty good. There's just not like there's not like nothing like Mario Kart about them. There's no like Mario about them, but they're fine. I do think it's kind of a bummer. They're just remasters of these of these old tracks. They're not like full fledged like they didn't tie them into like the anti gravity stuff or the yeah it's anti gravity yeah stuff that like you don't have like anything like that in these like we've seen from like that was like the whole shit of Mario Kart 8. But it's just I'm just happy to have more Mario Kart to play. I
Right.
talked about this when they announced this initially. $25 to go back to Mario Kart 6 times at least. I'm gonna play these. I don't know. I'm not gonna like play them a ton. I'm gonna do the 50 cc's, 100 cc's, and probably the 150 cc's, and then probably be done with them. But I'm just excited to go back to these things for a couple, maybe 6 to 8 to 10 weekends for the next year or so where I haven't touched Mario Kart myself. Well, at least when I'm playing, I'm like, if there's not other people around, if I'm just playing games with myself, I'm never gonna go to Mario Kart. But I'm excited to like for the first time in I don't know when the game launched, I guess, in 2017, to go back and play these games again. Like I said, I'd rather pay $25 for 48 new tracks than pay $60 for 50 new tracks or whatever it's going to be. But yeah, I think that, they're very good. Like I said, it's $25. If you don't already have it, or if you don't have the expansion pack, I think it's very good. If you have, I mean, if you have a Switch, you have Mario Kart. We see the we see the sales numbers. If you have a Switch, you 50-50 chance you bought Mario Kart. But yeah,
Hmm.
I'm just so happy to be back in the Mario Kart world because I love Mario Kart. But that's all I've been playing, Gables. What about you?
All right, so continuing with more Elden Ring, I am now over 50 hours played into this game.
Jesus Christ!
I am pretty close to level 200 in regards to this game.
So you're like a
And what's
third of the way
interesting,
there.
I know I'm more than a third, but I have ended up doing a little bit more of a research in regards to character build stuff, and I did realize that after a certain extent, there are certain stats that don't increase as much and stuff toward, there's basically irrelevant past a certain point that you go through and do a bunch of investments instead of this particular stat. So 80, that if you don't level anything, if you don't invest more than just 80 or something like that, you should be good. Especially if it's like, say, for stamina stuff. Actually, for stamina stuff, you can't really go past 50. And the reason why is because of the diminishing return stuff. So I think it just caps out like a soft cap at about 50. So in terms of like soft cap stuff, vigor would be like 40 in that regards. It just depends upon the particular stat. But how I got my character selected, like right at this moment in time, its build is like, okay, you got 40 in vigor, you got 22 inside of the whole like magic and stuff, 60 in strength, 80 in dexterity. I know it's overkill for the strength and stuff, but in regards to intelligence, it's like 20. Faith is very low. It's like around 9, arcane 8, but the fact remains is my whole idea in terms of my character build and for Elden Ring was to go with a fast character, like fast attacking character and stuff that was able to hold a lot of weight in terms of like weapons and armor and stuff. But what I will say is I have definitely fought a bunch of bosses, exploring it so much more in regards to not just the Atlas Plateau, but also in terms of like the southern portion of the map past like the initial starting area. What I did like in regards to Elden Ring so far is I'm now at that point to where I feel like I can initially go to specific places without fearing too much of dying. But like I was stating before, I'm like getting close to like level 200 stuff, right? And so in regards to like getting a whole bunch of runes and stuff, I can do it fairly easy now because in order to do like the grinding spot that I have, it's like I'm still using the grinding spot with Mogwin's Place and just cycling through, leveling up my character that way. But yeah, I feel like I'm at the point now where it's much more easier for me to go forth and explore a lot of the terrains inside of the areas, inside the main game and stuff, and see what I can find. So I initially went to the southern portion of the map past like the starting area, and by doing so, I managed to go through and check out. There was a couple different bosses that I ended up fighting. One that looked like it was on almost like a deserted island, right? And by defeating this thing, I got something called the Grafted Sword, which the Grafted Sword reminds me of the throne from King of Thrones because it has all these different swords that are like merged together, kind of like yeah, merged together, right? And it's
Mm.
like it's a gigantic great sword. And so you can go forth when you hold the damn sword and stuff like that, it has a specific type of like wind up type of attack when you press L2 and stuff, and you have like all this does a ton of damage and stuff. You can go forth and upgrade the sword based upon what type of smithing stones or like somber smithing stones or whatever the hell you can do to upgrade the thing is through the blacksmith. But I thought it was pretty cool that I came across a grafted sword that is reminiscent and homage almost to like Game of Thrones. But in regards to that southern area in general, I explored all throughout that terrain. I think I came across a couple of different bosses. But what was fun about that is I did not have like a hard time going through that area. Whereas if I would have went there from the beginning after I started, I would have had a hell of a hard time because there's a whole bunch of different mobs of enemies that will go through, gang up on you, and pretty much try to wombo combo you into an effect to where you would die if you go through at a weakened state.
That's my new favorite
Another,
saying, Wombo combo. I love that.
yeah, that's something that's been passed around for years in terms of the the gaming stuff I've gone through. It's
Sounds
like
like
a
a
wombo
bad
combo.
venereal disease.
But my initial extent with playing Elden Ring this past week has been me brushing up on improvements in terms of how I've been approaching boss battles and also in terms of how I've been trying to do exploration stuff. So, one thing that I've been trying to implement more is becoming a bit more aggressive in terms of when I'm attacking bosses, especially when I attacked and killed another dragon this time.
You just leave them alone. There's always so many. All right. God,
This
just an
time I took
asshole.
out a dragon that was actually on the bridge. So, yeah, this big old black dragon, right? And this thing has been there from my initial part when I did the first grinding spot that I did for farming runes with that boulder. And so this is the same one to where this is the same area that's in Caelid and stuff, like near Caelid, that area to where there's two bridges, one with the dragon on top of it, and the other with a cavalry knight or something like that at night. This big old black cavalry knight or something like that. Both of them are powerful, mind you. I would not advise you going and attacking these things at like a I don't know, like a beginner's level or something like that, like maybe level 12 or level 15, because they'll destroy you in one hit.
Beginner's levels like level 88, 99, like way too early. Yeah, you gotta be like levels like 700.
Well, that's the thing, though. Well, that's the thing, though. Maybe not up to 700. The thing is like when you're doing level up inside of Elden Ring, you gotta not just level up yourself, but level up your weapons too, from like smithing stones and like somber smithing stones or whatever the hell type of material you can use.
Gable, I
So
really
part of the
appreciate
initial
these. I'm sorry to cut you off. I really appreciate these weekly discussions of Elden Ring because the more you talk about it, the more it's like it makes me like remind me. Yeah, I won't like this game. Go ahead.
and that's perfectly fine too, it's like there's definitely gaming experiences to where it's not for somebody,
Mm.
and that's perfectly fine too. That's what makes the gaming industry great is because there are a bunch of different experiences and stuff that caters to maybe a specific type of gamer that wants to do this or wants to do that and stuff, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
But
I just got FOMO real bad, but go ahead.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem. But in terms of what I was stating, though, it's like when you're going through an Elden Ring, the one major misconception that I had going in is like, okay, I level up my character to a certain extent and stuff, and I can immediately go through and overpower a bunch of different enemies. No, that was further from the truth because when I started getting up past like level 100 stuff, I still kind of felt like I was underpowered. And the part of the reason why is because I was not leveling up the weapons I was using through the blacksmith. And by doing so, what I needed to do was just try to collect and farm a whole bunch of different smithing stones. And some of the best things that I did was going through different tunnels through certain areas. I cannot remember the first area, but there's definitely like these particular types of bells that you offer at a vendor inside the round table esque hub area that you go through in Elden Ring that'll allow the availability of buying these specific smithing stones from like 1 to 9 based upon what bell you give it. Same thing with the somber smithing stones. In regards to that though, inside the somber smithing stones, I actually went through and got smithing like the somber ones like 4 and 5 by going through another tunnel, right? And before, like a couple weeks back, I was saying that I went through this particular tunnel to get one, like a previous bell and stuff for like doing the offerings to the vendor. And it's like one of these, like these diamond sort of like bosses, right? To where it's humanoid, right? It's completely made of diamond and its weakness is blunt weapons. So heavy, blunt weapons. But for this one, there's two of them. But one has chakra, like chakra weapons, like these ring type of attack, like weapons and stuff that it just
Oh, okay.
tosses at you, just kind of look back. And the other one has more like a lance or some that'll immediately just try to just pierce, just try to stab you with like with the rapid succession and stuff, but you have to go through and try to avoid them. Now, for this type of boss and stuff, what I ended up looking up and stuff, it's like for the one that does like a lot of the stabbing motions and stuff like that. If you could parry them, if you could parry this boss and stuff, this one boss, like distract the other one with your summon that you got, and then all of a sudden try to do like a parry or something like that, and just get a whole bunch of heavy weapon like smashes in, that'll go and trigger like a vulnerable state for the boss. Because the thing is, with any enemy inside this game you could do a specific amount of it, like a heavy attacks or whatsoever, and it will lose its pose, like its posture, and basically it'll trigger like a vulnerable state to where if you go to a certain like angle or something like that, you could do this automatic sort of like almost like a super attack here, or like a critical strike, and then the thing will go through and just lose more HP than it would have initially if you just went through and just started like just routinely just slashing at it. But after defeating these two bosses, after doing a combination of distracting one with a summon and like focus on the other one, try to take it out with heavy strikes with that big old grafted sword that I got, I ended up getting that the somber smithing bell. I think it was like number 2, and it was good for like numbers like 4 and 5. But yeah, like I was saying, for the smithing stones in general, there are two types, and it's generally 1 through 9, which will allow you to level up your specific like weapons that you want, and this is only for weapons, mind you, from like +1 all the way up to I think the max is like +20 something, 26 or whatever. I don't know. I have not maxed out a weapon inside this game. I may if I find the right bells to go forth and offer, but no, I'm gonna move on in regards to other things inside of Elden Ring because I thought I'd share a couple different stories here, and it's from two different areas. Two different areas of the same region, which is the Atlas Plateau. The first one has the resolve of being inside of like there's a windmill area. There's like this village inside the Atlas Plateau to where you have a bunch of different windmills and like you come across this village, right? And so I come across this village, I started walking into it, and all of a sudden I see a bunch of these villagers and stuff. They're dancing, right? And they're dancing right in the middle of the village and stuff. They're like a bunch of ladies or something like that that have like veils, like all these flower veils or something like that over their heads and stuff. They're like just doing their little dances or
Were
something. Just
they
see like
were they
they're kind of
dancing
they're
to
kind of
"Hungry Like a Wolf"?
no, no. They were basically singing like a la 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 or some of that sort. Just some kind of like crazy sort of like happy sort of dance and stuff like that. But before you get a chance
Was
to
it the
meet them,
safety
there's like a
dance?
No,
Damn
no
it.
safety dances inside
It's
this game. I would
bullshit.
laugh my ass off if they mentioned a safety dance after going through a bunch of dangerous shit in this
I
game.
guess it makes sense
But
that everybody's dying in this game. It'd be really dumb if they had a safety dance. But go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, really. But I come across this spirit of this ghost, right? And I talk with this ghost, and basically it starts reenacting like the last moment before it passed on in its real life, which was like, oh hey, it's like no, my skin. Well, no, it's like my not my skin, but what was it? Oh no, it's like I'm dirty. I swear, blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. It's kind of more or less a kind of like surmising that he was skinned alive,
Oh.
quintessentially, inside of this village. And so, as I'm going through and I'm going further inside this village, these ladies turn violent, right? Their eyes start glowing red, right? And so I'm taking out all these like freaking like these possessed like demons or something like that in this village. And then once I get to the center of the village, I come across one of this so like almost like a higher priest sort of like demon, right? And it's like it's dressed in all white and it's humanoid and it's like about 10 feet tall and it has a lance. It has a dual lance. You know how like they do lightsabers and stuff inside of Star Wars and stuff like that? It
This is
was
what I know
moving
about
with a dual
lightsabers.
lightsaber.
That's
It was
awesome.
doing like a dual saber type of thing.
Darth Maul confirmed.
And
Go ahead.
dude, this boss battle was kind of fun because it was like he was doing all sorts of various like motions in regards to like how they do in Star Wars and stuff, to where it's like they just go through an attack and like different acrobatic motions and stuff, and then all of a sudden you have to try to pause in specific increments and stuff. And with me, how I'm positioned with my character and stuff, every time I'm waiting for like a different moment, I go and do I press L1, it does like a double attack with my double scimitars and stuff. Just go through and just do a bunch of different type of combos. Each time I hit, I build up the blood, like the bleeding meter in regards to the boss and stuff. So once I fill that up, more health goes down. And basically, after about like a couple minutes of stuff, I beat this boss. And it was super fucking cool.
Nice.
Because afterwards, I got its weapon. And I'm going to level this damn thing up. And I want to try this damn thing out. Something I really like about this game is you can come across these awesome weapons sometimes after defeating bosses, sometimes just exploring different ruins, and you never know what you're gonna freaking get. But yeah, the grafted sword being one, this lance being another one. But then afterwards, I decided to leave this village after exploring the full extent. I tackled a couple other type of little miniature bosses and stuff that were on these little medallions, like in like the specific portions of like another area and stuff. But inside the same Atlas Plateau area, I come across the forest. And this is the type of forest I think I've mentioned before in regards to previous weeks and stuff, to where I come into this forest and I come across like the thicket inside the middle of the forest, and I see these almost humanoid type of creatures that have elongated heads and stuff that have cloaks, and they're basically speaking gibberish inside of their own language. And I come across a ruin and where like four or five of them are like huddled and just talking to one another, and like sort of this it kind of like this crazy uneasy sort of like muttering to one another. And it's like they're communicating with each other, doing this and doing that and stuff like that. So I try to avoid them and I started going a little bit deeper until I come across the boss version of one of these, and it's 10 feet tall. It's called Worm Face. Right? And so I'm battling Wormface. And what was one of the attacks this thing has? It has an attack to where it will shoot out this mist that causes something called Death Blight. And if you basically what this does, it fills up an entire meter where you can have instant death. And so I died once because of not realizing that this meter was building up,
Hmm.
and I instantly died through this fucking mist. But this was one of the most like unnerving boss battles I've played in this game so far. And the reason why is because when I tried to avoid this thing and tried to get around it with like my mount and stuff like that, this thing started running at me, right? And not like a usual type of run. It was running like almost like a full sprint, like how a runner would do. But instead of like with its arms wailing or whatsoever, it started running with its hands like it's things like this. The hands were like this, and its head was like going forward and stuff like that. It's like, oh shit, no, 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 no. Dude, it was so. And the thing about it is like this boss was so unnerving because of the movements and like the muttering and all this other type of shit. But after initially dying to this boss once, I went through, I beat this boss, and it was pretty fucking cool. I got to admit, it's one of those few boss battles in this game to where I can immediately remember specific types of moments, like elements that I felt while going through and battling them. Granted, this boss was difficult to a fault, but it wasn't overly challenging like it could have been if I would have faced it like towards the beginning portion of my adventure. The last boss, which I will go into, is something of like a last area stuff that I had initially did before I started going back into grinding again. And that was there was a place where inside of one of the areas inside I forget now where, but there's an underwater area, right? And so I'm investigating this almost like an underwater stream, these underwater channels, these caverns and stuff, and I come across these large ass ants. There's ants in these games, right? They're gigantic fire ants. They're like freaking huge. They're all hairy and crap, and you have to go through and try to get past them and try to get past into the tunnel and stuff. There's different type of channels and stuff you can divulge into. You can go one way or you can go another. I tried going to the right, but I end up going through a dead end and stuff because there's like a waterfall, but I can't get up this waterfall. And so I go the exact opposite direction, and while taking care of like a big old like colony of ants and stuff along my way, I come across one I come across this boss room, right? And it shows tidbits of this during the game's loading screen from time to time. I've seen it like throughout the like almost 50 hours I had played this game. So okay, there's this one area here where it's like this loading screen. But finally I came up to it. And let me tell you something, Tyler. This is one of the most unnerving fucking boss like this initial area, right? You could feel that there was a boss battle coming, right? But all throughout this particular area underwater, there's these skeletons that are sticking up, these giant skeletons, like throughout the ways, like here and there and everywhere around this thing. And there's a giant freaking skeleton sitting on top of like a throne. And the thing about it is, you don't fight that thing on the throne. No, there's something else that pops up out of the ground and stuff that you initially fight. It has lightning attacks, right? And it has like a dragon type of name. I forget initially what it was, but
Bart.
this no, it wasn't Bart, but it was like a play upon the word dragon, and basically what it was is a gigantic boss battle and stuff where I'm battling against this big old
Bilbo
epic dude
Baggins.
that is nah. It has these incantations where it's just shooting like lightning attacks at you. And so here I am, I go and I beat this damn thing the first time, but I almost die while doing it. And it played into the role of where I had been following some advice of like other players online to where it's like you gotta be aggressive and really on some of these enemies because if you're not, if you try to dodge or be super conservative and super defensive, you'll get punished fairly easily. And this is one of those extents to where I went full in and stuff, dodging when I could, but just going through and wailing on this boss until eventually I beat this boss, right? And I earned this incantation to where I shoot these freaking lightning bolts. But because I am not focused upon building up my faith stat, a lot of these incantations I can't use because I only have like 9 points invested inside that, and I have not touched this stat throughout this entire game because I've been focusing more on dexterity or vigor or endurance. You
Fatism.
know, no, I wouldn't say that to the
Well,
extent,
you're
but
not
like,
putting a lot of. You don't have a lot of faith, obviously. So, you're either an atheist or you believe in the devil. So, that's the way I'm looking at it.
well, if that were the case, I would have a higher arcane rank, which well, no, I don't.
No, you're not. You're not
But
a fire type dog from Pokemon. We're talking about
no, no,
Satanism.
no, no. But because I'm more of a warrior type of class and stuff like that, it's like I focus more on dexterity and this and that. But yeah, throughout the week, I came across some crazy ass boss battles and most memorable areas. Being the Windmill Village with a bunch of these dancing like crazy ladies and stuff like that. The forest area with a bunch of these like worm-faced creatures with a giant boss worm face shooting death blights and all this other stuff with sickles and all this other crap. Then going to the underground waterway fighting ants and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden coming across this crazy ass boss that shoots lightning and stuff inside of this almost a morbid sort of underground graveyard. Dude, yeah, this game has moment after moment of memorable areas and so many different crazy type of boss battles to where it's just one of those type of things where it's like I don't know what else to expect in this damn game. I know there are multiple areas I have not explored yet. I've explored most of the areas inside of this game that I'm aware of, but I still need to unlock a specific island to the east. I still need to go to the snow areas inside the north, and then there's like a couple different areas splotched throughout. But dude, 52 hours into Elden Ring, and I feel like I still want to play more of this game, dude.
Good,
It has that type of effect on you.
good.
So that's this week.
All right, nice, very good, Gables. I'm glad you're still liking it. Glad you're still enjoying it. Glad 52 hours. That's a lot. It's more than anything I put. I said in my Madden. It's more than I put anything into this year. But yeah, glad you're still enjoying it. Can't wait to hear more from you. You only like
The main goal is to beat this game.
yeah, you're like 4% of the way there, so you're doing really good. Um, but thank you guys so much for listening. If you like Top Show, like I said, if you like the show, enjoying it, please like, follow, subscribe anywhere you're at. If you're watching us on YouTube, please in the show notes there'll be a link tree link in there, and that will bring you to a link. It'll have a link to everything we're on: Facebook, Twitter, Facebook. I already said Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Extra Life, iTunes, Apple, whatever the hell it's called, Spotify, all those things. Send straight there. Give us a big follow, subscribe, all those. I really would appreciate if you did that. But until next time, I was Tyler.
And I have been Colonel Gables. I will say this. I will say this, man. You play yourself some good games, you have yourself a fun time, and always remember, good times will come and go, but I'll tell you what, bad guys will live forever.
Mm-hmm. And
Too sweet, man.
too sweet, guys. Love you, Scott.
Yeah. Rest